What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Redditgoss. On this channel, we read and react to the juiciest stories Reddit has to offer. Today, we'll be discussing stories from the subreddit r/Am I the Asshole. All relevant links will be posted in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I had to come at y'all with some Thanksgiving stories because I know we're right ahead of the holiday. So without further ado, let's get into this first story and see what's up. Am I the asshole for refusing to cook Thanksgiving lunch after 15 years? For the past 15 years, I, 38 female, have been the one cooking Thanksgiving lunch, or at least the turkey and most of the food. It's been a tradition, but this year I'm completely burnt out. I'm a teacher with 4 kids, aged 2 through 15. And this year has been especially stressful with work, parenting, and school. I just don't have the energy to take on such a big responsibility again. I suggested that my sister-in-law 1, who just moved into a new house, should maybe host this year and could make the turkey. She's a stay-at-home mom with 1 child, 11 months old, so I thought it wouldn't be too much to ask. My mother-in-law immediately shut that idea down, saying sister-in-law 1 is quote-unquote unreliable and might not wake up early enough to make it. How is that my problem? I then suggested my brother-in-law's wife could also take on the responsibility. They got married this summer, but have been together for over 5 years. She's never cooked a turkey before, but my mother-in-law said the turkey cooks itself, so I don't see why she can't give it a try. Everyone else shows up to eat every year without lifting a finger, but when I suggest not cooking this year, it's suddenly a crisis. When I told my husband I wasn't cooking, he said I'm just resentful because his parents helped sister-in-law 1 buy her house. That's not true. I even suggested sister-in-law 2 could make the turkey. Then he brought up that I'm mad because every time we have a date night, his parents tell my older daughter, who babysits her siblings, that we're neglecting our responsibilities as parents. I pointed out how unfair that is, but he just said, we're the most stable, so that's why we're always asked to take on more. My husband thinks my decision not to cook has less to do with stress and more to do with his family. I said I only decided not to cook after my mom said she wouldn't be coming over. My mom has been battling breast cancer for the past 10 months and just wants to stay home this year and avoid being around so many people. Last year, my parents spent Thanksgiving with my sister, who couldn't travel, but I still cooked for his family. In the past, I hosted Thanksgiving at our house because my family and siblings were coming over. But I've still made the turkey for his family for the last 15 years, even the years we hosted for only his side. So the idea that I'm refusing because it's his family isn't true. My husband also said I have 5 days to rest before Thanksgiving and doesn't understand why I can't just cook the turkey. I explained I don't want the responsibility of waking up early, making the turkey, and dealing with everyone asking me, is it almost done? For once, I just want to show up, sit down, and eat like everyone else does. He threw in that I've been hosting Thanksgiving for the last 7 years, which I pointed out is exactly why I'm tired. When I told him I didn't want to do it, he accused me of neglecting my motherly duties, which really hurts. Why should I always be expected to take on the stress of cooking when others don't have to because they quote-unquote can't or quote-unquote don't want to? Well, I don't want to this year either. Am I the asshole for refusing to cook this year? No, you are not the asshole for not wanting to cook. You've been cooking for the last 15 years and for his side of the family for the last 7 years straight. So you are not the asshole for wanting a break. And it's really unfortunate that, her husband refuses to be a good partner and just have her back on this and explain to the family that we're going to have to do something else, Wild. But we do have an update, so let's see what she says. Update. Thanks to everyone who weighed in on my original post. I was overwhelmed with the response as this is my first time posting. After a lot of back and forth with my husband, here's where things stand. I told him that for lunch, the kids and I would be going over to my mom's house. She's recovering from breast cancer and just wants a quiet day. So I wanted to spend time with her. I told my husband he was welcome to join us or not. His choice. He asked if I could meet him halfway by popping the turkey in the oven before leaving for my mom's, so his family could eat at 3. I said no, but I'd be willing to cook the turkey if dinner was pushed to 6, giving me more time to prepare on my terms. He said that was too late. He then suggested his mom could cook the sides, and I just handle the turkey. Again, I said I'd only do it if dinner was moved to 6. When he refused, I stood firm and said no. I want to bring something easy this year, like sodas and desserts, just like everyone else gets to. I'm tired of being the one responsible for the main dish when others can step up. For context, we live next door to his parents and his sister, so the constant expectations from his family are exhausting. My husband and I share the household responsibilities equally. He does all the daily cleaning, even when we aren't hosting, and we both handle the kids' baths, school drop-offs, and pickups. I'm not complaining about him at all. The issue is with his family. His family keeps insisting that others can't cook or host because they're incompetent. But the real problem is that my in-laws coddle them and never let them take responsibility for anything. That's not my problem to solve. I just want a break from being the one carrying the load every year. I'm sticking to my boundaries. If they think no one else is capable, then they can deal with the consequences, not me. Also, I said since last month that I didn't want to host or cook, so this is not new information to his family. And it looks like there is a third update. Someone asked how it became the quote-unquote tradition of me making the turkey. My mother-in-law rarely made a turkey. They usually went to my husband's paternal grandparents' house. Him and the cousins are all the same age, so once everyone got married, his aunts and cousins started doing their own thing. I got handed the job of turkey because my mother-in-law said her oven was too small to fit the turkey. She has one of those built-in wall ovens from the 80s. The first year, before we were living next to them, she came over and brought it prepped and put it in the oven herself and would come by to check it. Every year after that, I was tasked to do it myself. So for the first 7 years of me making it, we would have to carry it in the car over to their house. Also, in years past, we would have a second turkey made, fried, or smoked by my father-in-law. No one liked it or would eat it, so it would go to the dog. I was still making the main turkey. That was just a second one. Wow. This girl sounds like she's had a lot on her plate, and it sucks that her husband won't even so much as just let her go be with her mom. I mean, for Pete's sake, her mother is recovering from breast cancer. He thinks that she still needs to make dinner for everybody. He won't even push it back to 6. Like, what is the big deal with pushing it back so that way your wife can spend time with her mother and the kids, get some time to rest with her family, and still come and do what she needs to do for you all? And, this is not an isolated incident with, this marriage. I'm sure other things like this have happened. It sounds like she's been making sacrifices for his family the entire marriage. And that's really unfortunate. So let's see what the comments have to say. Wrong Moose 9763 says, motherly duties? Yeah, F that. Your husband needs to shut his pie hole. In fact, tell hubby he either backs you or he can do it all. Cooking, cleaning, including before the meal and after. And don't take no for an answer. Not the a-hole. My only question back to the motherly duties part is, how aren't the other mothers then not neglecting theirs if they don't take their turns for the holidays? How is she the only bad mother? Because she won't host, but all the other mothers in the family haven't hosted in years. That's what I would say to that duh of a husband. Yeah, I agree. Like, why is it that the other mothers can't do what they need to do and cook for the family? It kind of sounds like maybe the mother-in-law has some type of, I don't want to say beef, but some type of weird energy towards this particular daughter-in-law. You know, like, that's really weird. But I'm glad that she is sticking tight to those boundaries and is not going to fold and go to her mom's house. She deserves to have a Thanksgiving off. Okay, we're going to read 2 more comments. Equivalent P says, what he means is matronly. His family has elected her as the woman who does it all for the extended family. But if it's been your responsibility for 15 years, that started when you first had a baby. So I don't see how it's not reasonable for some of his siblings, now that they have their family started, not to pitch in. Agreed with if he doesn't want to back you, he can do it himself. But it sounds like he also shows up to the table after doing nothing, so I can't see him changing his own stance easily. Not the a-hole. Stress buildup is real. And to be honest, if my mom was currently fighting cancer, I'd be burned out and not want to organize the holiday either. Johnny Radar says, if my mom was fighting cancer, I'd tell him and his family to F right off. You figure it out how to feed yourself. They can eat popcorn and toast for all I care. Exactly. Like, how are they so flippant about, her mother is suffering from cancer? Like, all they're worried about is their Thanksgiving meal. Like, that is absolutely insane. And I feel like she needs to take herself off of the Thanksgiving cooking committee, not only this year, but every year in the future, because they've clearly taken her for granted and they're taking advantage of her labor, and that's not cool. Okay, so that's that on that story. We are going to move on to the next story. All right, so let's get into our next story. Am I the asshole for telling my vegan friend I don't want to come over for Thanksgiving dinner? I, 54 female, have a friend, 55 female, who went vegan 10 years ago. We've been friends 20 years or more. We have a large group of friends, 15 to 20, and there are a few of us that switch off cooking dinner on Thanksgiving for whoever is in town. Since Anne went vegan, we've always accommodated her dietary restrictions, with at the very least some tofurkey, one side dish, and one dessert being strictly vegan. This year, Anne jumped in early and for the first time ever said she wanted to cook Thanksgiving this year. Not a problem. Until she informed us in the group chat dinner will be 100% vegan. Some of us offered to bring more omnivore offerings, including a turkey, and she insisted we eat vegan while at her house. She declared that vegan food tastes exactly the same as omnivore food. It does not. I've been to her house and choked down bean burgers and chocolate cake and probably a dozen other meals, each of which she insisted tasted just like the real thing. She even tried to fool me once with the Beyond Burger, insisting it was a regular hamburger. I have only found a limited number of vegan dishes I enjoy, and none of them have ever been made by her. After thinking it over and discussing it with my husband, we decided to privately tell her we were bowing out of dinner on Thanksgiving this year. I told her I wanted turkey, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie that were made with traditional ingredients. I could have lied and said we had plans to travel to see family, but I didn't want to lie. Anne has become angrier and angrier with me since I told her this about a week ago. Then she went and complained to some of the women in our group about me refusing to attend just because she was cooking, which is sort of true, but still made me angry. So I ended explaining to the other ladies that we all are very considerately make vegan dishes just for her at every party and get together any of us throw. And it's really unreasonable for her to insist that I strictly adhere to her dietary choices when I have never demanded the same from her. So that blew up because all the ladies have now jumped to my way of thinking and decided they will have Thanksgiving at one of their houses instead. We will not be attending their Thanksgiving either. My husband says we probably should have lied about going out of town, or at the very least, I should have not explained my reasoning to the other ladies. I decided to stay out of it from here on out, but somehow Anna blames me for the whole debacle. Am I the a-hole for declining to attend a vegan Thanksgiving? No, not the a-hole, because who on earth wants to attend a fully veganized Thanksgiving? Like, we all know vegan food tastes nothing like the real thing. And Anna should be a little more flexible and allow her friends to bring in some omnivore options just like they do for her. But let's get into the comments. Discount Mithril says, not the a-hole. You accommodated her many times over, but she refuses to do so when hosting. I get that being vegan is a choice most people make for ethical reasons, but the BS line of "it all tastes the same" is so asinine. It doesn't, and they know it. I often eat vegan meals of my own making, but never once have I made it thinking, this will taste just like the meat dish I made yesterday. I know it doesn't, and I'm happy with my veggies. Hopefully Anne takes this as the eye-opening it needs to be. Her beliefs and choices are not something everyone will adopt. And the more she forces it on people, the more those people will reject the idea. I hope she enjoys her Thanksgiving alone, because until she returns the graciousness of providing food for everyone at the table to enjoy based on their dietary choices, that's how she'll be spending it. And that's a word, because what made her think this was going to be appropriate to do? Or for all we know, this could be some type of passive aggressive play on Anna's part. Maybe she's been upset that she's only ever been able to have those tiny dishes at the big Thanksgiving meetup. So maybe she's like, I'm flip the switch on them and see how they like it when they can't eat the majority of the food. This could very well be a situation like that. Okay, let's read one more. Darth Skywalker says, you do realize it sounds extremely unreasonable for Anne to not allow any non-vegan foods in her home, but then it's completely fine that she can get accommodated at her friends' homes. That is extremely hypocritical of her. You are correct that it is her house and her rules, but it is extremely rude and selfish that she basically waves her my house, my rules card in her friends' faces when they never once forced her to eat non-vegan foods when she was invited. No, that is not cool and very distasteful of Anne to try and sneak in that, oh, by the way, no non-vegan food at all. Okay, thanks. That suddenly. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to force her beliefs onto her friends when none of them have ever done the same to her. I wouldn't be surprised if Anne loses a lot of friends, maybe even all of them. She has no one to blame but herself, and trying to pull that stunt, and worse, then playing the victim. She literally effed around and found out. Yep. Mic drop there, because she will fuck around and find out when she has a mountain of vegan food in her crib and nobody's there to eat it. I mean, at least they gave her the courtesy of telling her they're not coming, so she can, possibly just make a smaller portion for herself. Hopefully this doesn't cause a rift in their friendship. Hopefully next year they're able to resume their Thanksgiving tradition and Anne won't be harboring any hard feelings, but I kind of get the feeling that Anne is a petty petty boots. So you never know. Maybe she'll be back next year telling us how Anne like exited the group chat. Okay, so we have one final story that might ruffle a few feathers, but I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Am I the asshole for refusing to work Thanksgiving so my coworker can celebrate with her kids? I, 28 female, recently got engaged and have been at my current job for a little over 2 years now. I love my job and feel honored to do it. But one downside is that we're needed 365 days a year, and so it's common to work on holidays. The general rule is that individuals who are new are first in line to work on Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's also an informal expectation that individuals without kids will cover those shifts so parents can celebrate with their families. People at work especially seem to care about moms being home with their children. This year, I'm scheduled to work on Christmas but get Thanksgiving off. This is my first holiday since I've been on the job, so I'm very excited. One of my coworkers, June, was in the same hiring class as me. She's a few years older because she started grad school late and is married with 2 young kids. On Friday, she approached me and asked if I would be willing to cover her shift on Thanksgiving so she can celebrate with her kids. I was a bit upset since I've been looking forward to celebrating with my family, fiance, and future in-laws this year. As I mentioned, I just got engaged, and this is the first time our families are doing blended holiday. I explained the situation to June, and she just said that her daughters deserve to have their mom with them on Thanksgiving. I suggested celebrating the holiday on a later date with her family because I wasn't going to be covering for her. June was annoyed. I said I was breaking the informal code of the office. I spoke to my mentor about this. She's in her 50s and has kids, and she thinks I should have agreed to cover for June so her kids could be with their mother on Thanksgiving. I said that the expectation isn't fair since June was the one who decided to have kids and also chose an intense line of work where she sometimes has to work holidays. Additionally, it's unfair that individuals who choose not to have children are penalized for the decisions of others and are expected to always work holidays. She asked me to take a step back and realize it's not about being fair to June or me, but doing what's right for the kids who already don't get to see their mother as often as they'd like because she's serving our country. She said if I chose to have kids one day, I may think about it differently. I'm pretty clear about the fact that when I decide to have kids, I won't expect my coworkers to pay the price for that decision. I'll note that my job is certainly a public service, so the institution prides itself on doing what's best for our country rather than ourselves. I'm all right with sacrificing my time to help the general public, but also I don't think I should be pressured into working every holiday so my coworkers can be with the kids they brought into this world. Am I the asshole? Absolutely not the asshole. I completely understand this OP. I actually work as a healthcare worker as my day job, and we pretty much work almost every holiday. And, when you're newer at the job, a lot of the people with seniority, they happen to get all the holidays off. So this is actually going to be my first year having Thanksgiving off, and I'm super excited about it. I've been with the company for years. So if somebody were to ask me to work for them, it will be a no for me because the same way you want to be with your family, I want to be with my family as well. And this is a subject that is talked about a lot in child-free spaces online because people just think that because you don't have kids, you don't have family that loves and care about you and would like to see you. And I find that to be so selfish. So just, it's just a horrible way to think that because I don't have small children, I don't have the right to enjoy my day as much as you do. So let's see what the comments say. I'm pretty sure everyone's going to say not the a-hole. Incog says, not the a-hole. Everyone deserves to celebrate holidays with family, kids or no kids. June can deal with working Thanksgiving. You already have plans, and that's the answer. June, this is my first holiday off, and I've made plans to celebrate with my family. OP responded and says, thanks so much. Normally, I've been fine with it, but as I said, I just got engaged, so this is a special time for me and my family. Exactly. So you should be able to celebrate that Thanksgiving any way you want. You got the day off, fair and square, and June is going to have to see them kids another time. Okay, so let's read a couple more comments. Weary Scientist says, not the a-hole. As a parent, I think it's an effed up rule to begin with. What if you desperately wanted kids but wasn't fertile? Your punishment, as if not having kids isn't enough, is that you never get holidays with your family? They don't know your life or desires. No, you don't want kids yet, but they shouldn't make assumptions. 100%. And this comment right here. Love Being an A-hole says, what about your mom? Doesn't she deserve to have her child at Thanksgiving? June knew the deal when she took the job. It's time with her kids on holidays was a big deal for her that she needs to find another job. Coworker procreation habits are not your problem. Who has kids should not even be considered at work. Not the a-hole. And that's that on that. Let me know what you thought of today's stories. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subbing and hitting the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, you all. I'll see you next time.